Recently, I've been reading Cal Newport's new book, Digital Minimalism, and in the book, he argues that it's not just during our work time that we need to be careful about distractions from things like Facebook and internet and digital devices, but it's in our personal life too, that many of us feel that we're too tied to our smartphones, computer, social media, and these kinds of things. And that if we were to drastically cut back and we were to take a more deliberate philosophy of which things we have in our life, we would be much happier and better off because of it. Now, I want to talk about a specific idea he brings up in the book, which is scheduling time for your hobbies. And I want to talk about why I think this is an important idea, even if you maybe seem somewhat reluctant to do it. So, the motivation is that for a lot of people, scheduling is what you do for things you have to do. So you have to go to work, so you make sure that going to work is in your calendar. You've got to go to the dentist, so you make sure it's in your calendar. You've got to pick up the laundry or deliver some mail. Those are all things that are on your schedule. In contrast, hobbies, things like reading books or art or woodworking or martial arts or attending a fitness class, those things are not often on our schedule because for many of us, they're not things that we think we have to do. They're things that we should want to do. So if they're things we should just want to do, shouldn't we just do them spontaneously? Now, I want to just contrast two basic states of affairs because the idea is that on the one hand, we should engage in things we want to do spontaneously. But on the other hand, I think part of the problem is that in our everyday lives, if we don't schedule things, if we don't have an intention to do something that's a little bit more difficult, that maybe has a little bit of a barrier to entry, we will go with the default. And in this case, the default isn't bad because it distracts you from your work and it lowers your productivity. It's bad because it actually makes you worse off than you were before. You don't feel as good after you spend all evening watching Netflix. You don't feel as relaxed as you should if you spend your entire day on Twitter or on Facebook. So how do you actually deal with this? Well, I think the solution is to schedule time for hobbies. So pick out times in your day and schedule activities. And I think this overcomes a couple problems. One, a lot of hobbies and activities do require some setup to actually do them. So one example is I really like painting. You can see some of my paintings up here. And that's something that you have to have the canvas, you got to have the material, you got to have whatever you're going to paint, you got to get some setup, which is maybe not the most fun to do and maybe requires some planning ahead. Okay, I got to go to the store and get this thing. But once you've done it, you can enjoy that hobby. So the first reason to schedule your hobby, schedule these higher quality leisure activities, is because if you don't do setup, then you can't actually do them. If you don't have books in your house, how can you read? If you don't have the materials ready, how can you do it? If you don't have the fitness class signed up, how can you go to it? So that's the first reason to schedule, is just simply because without scheduling, you won't be able to do it. But the other reason to schedule, even if you have these things, is that very often our default or our motion to do something is not actually what's going to leave us happier, more relaxed, better off. So the classic kind of objection to doing this sort of approach is, I'm exhausted. I'm busy at the end of the day. I don't want to spend my time doing something hard. I want to do something that's fun and relaxing. I want to do something that will just take my mind off and I don't have to worry about it. I already have to put in a lot of deliberate effort in work and my family and errands and everything like that. I just want to not worry about it when I have my leisure time. And this view assumes that this kind of default status quo is going to lead to the option that's going to leave you most relaxed. However, if what you end up doing is just spending a lot of time binge watching a show, the time may fly by and you may feel like, wow, the evening is gone, but I don't feel any more relaxed. I don't feel any better. And I think the best example of this is social media. Very often, social media can create as much anxiety as it tries to diminish. That if you're on Twitter and you're constantly seeing people getting in outrageous feuding culture wars about things, well, then that's going to make your anxiety go up, even though the stated intention was to just have some information and play around. Similarly, if you're on Facebook or Instagram all the time and you're constantly seeing people's luxurious vacations or great and perfect marriages or perfect lives, maybe you're going to start to feel envious. Maybe you're going to start to feel depressed about your own life, even when the goal was just to relax. So I think the idea here is to be deliberate about your leisure time in the same way that you need to be deliberate about your work. Although in this case, you're not trying to maximize productivity. You're not trying to just get more output even in your spare time, but rather you're trying to pick activities that you find genuinely rewarding. genuinely meaningful, things that really build up your time. And so contrary to the normal objection where, and I don't have time for this, I don't have time to schedule hobbies, I'm too busy, my life's too chaotic, too stressful, I think it's usually the opposite. I think it's the people that have the most stressful lives. I think it's the people that feel they have the least time that need to schedule hobbies, because you only have a very limited amount of time. And so if you waste it on your phone, if you waste it watching Netflix, if you waste it on these things that don't actually leave you feeling better at the end of it, then you're going to just accumulate more fatigue, more tire, and you're going to feel less satisfied with the work and the life you're doing. So think about that. What are some hobbies that you could be doing right now, and how could you schedule them into your life? You don't have to make it so that they are inviolable, so that if something comes up, you have to do them and that it's another scheduled item for you to stress over. But just have yourself prepared to do them. Have the materials out to do that art project. Have the fitness pass already purchased. Get the stuff ready so that you can do it Tuesday evenings, or you can do it Wednesday evenings, so that you can relax and use this as a way to get higher quality time out of the time that you are not working.